There's a ton of great tactile flashlights that run on 21700 batteries, and today we're going to be comparing some of the best models to help you decide which one is best for you. There are plenty of reasons why you might want a tactical light, but my criteria for selecting these lights was high output lights with durable and aggressive designs that offer some variation of tail switch so it's easy to operate in high stress situations, and it can be used in a hammer fist grip. And I have a range of lights here of different sizes with different beam profiles, so you should be able to find something that meets your needs. In general, 21700 lights are going to have longer run times and higher outputs compared to 18650 lights, but the trade-off is that 21700 lights are going to be slightly heavier. And if you're on the fence about which size you might want, you can check out an 18650 tactical comparison I published a few months ago. But in general, if you consider yourself to be a heavy user, the performance that a 21700 light would offer would probably be your best option. The lights we're going to be taking a look at in this video are 3 from Acebeam, including the Defender P18 and the P17, and the Acebeam L19 version 2.0, the P23i from Nitecore, the Olight Warrior 3S, the Fenix PD36R Pro, and the Nextorch TA30 Max. But before we dive in and check out some beam shots, be sure to smash that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Alright, so we're going to kick things off with an absolute powerhouse of a flashlight, which is the Acebeam Defender P18. And this flashlight was recently released and features 4 luminous SFT40 emitters that combine to produce a max output of 5000 lumens. And it also has an impressive 629 meter throw distance and a nice intense hotspot with a peak intensity of approximately 99,000 candela. The beam angle is relatively wide, and the patterns from the reflectors do overlap a bit, creating a 4-leaf clover effect, but this really doesn't detract from the overall experience. The hotspot is really wide and intense, so it's going to be usable at longer ranges, but the spill is definitely sufficient for walking around with. It will ramp down from 5000 lumens to about 1300 lumens over the course of about a minute, but moving forward it will continue to run for approximately another 2 hours. The switch design and the UI on the P18 and the P17 are identical. Anyways, these lights have a daily mode set and 2 different tactical mode sets, and this has a dual switch design, and the larger rubber switch will turn the light on and off, and while it's on, the metal side switch will give you the ability to cycle through different modes. When the light is off, pressing the side switch will give you direct access to strobe in the tactical mode set, which is great if you plan to rely on the light for self-defense purposes. Here's a look at the different modes and mode sets, and you can pause here if you want to take a longer look, but as you can see, there's a great selection of modes here, and that mid mode is going to be great if you need the light to last most of the night, and the ultra low moonlight mode runtime is pretty good at 22 days. Next, we're going to take a look at the Acebeam P17 Defender, which is a more compact option, and this light runs on a single Cree XHP 70.3 emitter with a cool white 6500K color temperature, and it also has a very impressive 4900 lumen output. The throw distance is also pretty good at 445 meters with a peak intensity closer to 50,000 candela, and overall I'm very impressed how much output Acebeam has managed to squeeze out of a single emitter. The hotspot is nice and wide and very smoothly diffused, and the beam angle is also quite wide as well, so if you need something that will really excel at 300 meters, this light will definitely do the job. From turbo, the output is going to step down from 4900 lumens to 1250 lumens, where it will continue to run for nearly 2 more hours, and the output levels and the mode sets are very similar to what we saw with the P18. The version I have here is black, but there's also a gray version available as well. Now we're going to take a look at a dedicated thrower, which is the Acebeam L19 2.0, and for those of you not familiar with throwers, they typically have really wide heads, and they're designed primarily for long range use. The L19 has a luminous SFT40 HI emitter, and although the lumens might not sound as impressive at 2200, the max throw distance is 1083 meters, and it has an incredibly intense hotspot with a peak intensity of just under 300,000 candela. This light has the most intense hotspot in the lineup, and the size of the hotspot is quite small, and as far as throwers go, this is one of the better ones for walking with, as there is a faint bit of spill that provides just enough illumination to see where you're walking. It will ramp down from 2200 lumens to 1600 lumens after about 2 minutes, and then ramp down to around 1200 lumens shortly after, but at this output it can run for about an hour and a half, and still throw about 769 meters, which is a very impressive feat to be able to sustain. The L19 2.0 is another dual switch design, but this one has a single tail switch, which will turn the light on and off and bring you directly to turbo, and then there's a metal side switch which will also turn the light on and off and allow you to cycle through the different output modes. The L19's UI does offer less options, but for a thrower you don't really need too many options, and even this many levels is probably overkill. but the mid mode would easily last you through the night and deliver plenty of throw, and it does have an exceptional moonlight runtime at 62 days. There's also some different emitter options, including green and white OSRAM emitters, an IR version, and it also can be picked up with a mount and a remote switch from Acebeam. This is the Nitecore P23i, which was also just released, and is going to be more suitable than the lights we looked at previously for everyday carry. And this light has a luminous SFT70 emitter and a max output of 3000 lumens, which will ramp down over the course of 30 minutes. Max throw distance is also very good on this light, coming in at around 470 meters with a peak intensity of 55,000 candela. The beam angle is nice and wide and would be a great option to walk with, and the hotspot is also nice and intense, so I would consider this to be a great mid-range light for those of you needing to see 300 meters or so. The P23i has a very similar switch design to the Acebeam Defender lights, and there's a rubber tail switch which you can use to turn the light on and off, and while it's on, the metal side switch will give you the ability to cycle through different output modes, and when the light is off, pressing the side switch will give you direct access to strobe. There's a tactical and daily mode set, and the 250 lumens mode will give you 10 hours of runtime, which is very impressive, but one thing to keep in mind is there's no true moonlight mode here. Coming up next is the Olight Warrior 3S, and this is going to be one of the best options for those of you looking for a pocket carry friendly tactical 21700 light. Olight just tells us that this runs a high performance cool white emitter, which has a max output of 2300 lumens. The throw distance on this light is going to be close to 300 meters, and it's a relatively low intensity light with 23,000 candela. And this is another short range light, and it actually delivers a very wide beam angle, which is the best in the lineup. So if you need to rely on a light for walking and want to be able to see a whole lot at short ranges, this is going to be a great option. The hotspot is also very wide, but only visible to a few hundred meters, and it's going to ramp down from 2300 lumens to 800 lumens after 2.5 minutes. But it can continue to run at this level for about 2.5 more hours. The Warrior 3S has a metal tail switch, which you can press to access turbo directly and turn the light on and off, and there's also a rubber side switch which can also turn the light on and off, and it will cycle through the various outputs. There are 5 different outputs plus a strobe, and the 200 lumen medium mode is going to give you about 13 hours of runtime, so you'll get multiple nights of use out of it, which is great, and it does have a 55-day max runtime on its lowest output, which is also quite good. The Fenix PD36R Pro is another pocket carry friendly design, very similar in size to the Olight, and is going to give you a slightly better throw distance at around 380 meters and a peak intensity of 36,000 candela. The max output is also slightly higher at 2800 lumens, and it's running a luminous SFT70, which is the same as the Nitecore P23i. This is a decent mid-range light, and overall the beam profile is more narrow compared to the rest of the lights in the lineup, but the hotspot is relatively wide and intense, so if you typically need to see things out to a few hundred meters, this is definitely going to be a good option. The output will step down pretty quickly to a significantly lower output, and will continue to step down over the course of about 3.5 hours. The PD36R Pro also has a dual switch design with a rubber tail switch that will turn the light on and off with a memory feature, and also a rubber side switch which can cycle through the output modes and access strobe directly when the light is off. There's 5 different output modes plus a strobe, and the medium mode is also very well balanced at 350 lumens with an 8.5 hour runtime, but the lowest 30 lumen output mode only has a 42-hour runtime. Finally, we've got the Nextorch TA30 Max, and this light has a Cree XHP 50.2 emitter and a max output of 2100 lumens. The throw distance is 240 meters, and the hotspot is relatively wide, and it's not very intense, and it transitions very smoothly into the spill. The beam angle is also very wide, and it reminds me a lot of the Olight Warrior 3S, so this is going to be most useful in short distance situations, but it is definitely going to struggle at further distances, so if this is something you're concerned about, you might want to go with an option with a higher intensity. The TA30 Max has a very unique tail switch design, and a half press will turn the light on to turbo, and a full press will access strobe. It also has a mode selector ring, which you can rotate to turn the light on and off, and also access the various output modes. There are only 3 different outputs, plus a strobe, and the medium mode runs at 380 lumens and will last about 6 hours, which is pretty good, but the max runtime will only be 23 hours. But if you aren't too concerned about having a ton of modes, this shouldn't be a big issue. There are also a handful of accessories from Nextorch which you can buy, including the V51 quick draw rotating holster, the FR2 tactical ring, and a quick release mount. Alright, so now we're going to briefly touch on charging for each of these lights. There's no port on the Acebeam P17, the Nextorch TA30 Max, and the Acebeam L19 2.0, but they do come with batteries that have USB-C charging ports built right in. So while charging might be slightly more inconvenient, this design should give you better waterproof and dust resistance. The Nitecore P23i and the Fenix PD36R Pro both have those silicone cover style protectors with built-in USB-C ports, and while this is probably the most convenient and easy charging setup, you do have to be careful with these fragile covers, and they are an easy place for water and dust to enter the light. The Olight Warrior 3S has a proprietary magnetic USB charging setup that just snaps right in place, and this is a really easy way to charge the light, but with this setup you do rely on Olight's cables to keep your lights charged. Finally, the Acebeam P18 has an onboard USB port which you can access by unscrewing this ring right beneath the head, and I think this design is excellent and provides a lot more protection to the port compared to the silicone covers. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on which one of these lights is your favorite down in the comments below, and if you have any interest in picking up these lights and supporting the channel, there's links down in the description which will really help me out a lot. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to the channel.